Mastery course. We are on chapter 2. And before we go into that particular presentation, I want to show you a verse which is about the glorification of Bhagavad Gita. And here's this verse. So this verse is from Srimad Bhagavad Gita Mahatmya from Sri Vaishnaviya Tantra Sar. This is verse number 7. So let's see what the verse is. Samsara sagaram ghoram tartum ichhati yo naraha Gita navam samsadya param yati sukhena saha. So what does this verse talk about? This is a glorification of Bhagavad Gita. What does it talk about? So it says, a person who wants to cross over the ghastly ocean of material suffering can do so very easily by taking shelter of the boat of the Bhagavad Gita. So this verse says that a person who wants to cross, so any one of us who wants to cross this ocean of material suffering, ghastly ocean of material suffering. Now recently in Chennai was the cyclone came, and if you would have noticed the ocean at that time, it had such rough waves, right? So imagine we are in the middle of such an ocean of material suffering. There is no end to it. So if you want to cross over on our own strength, is very difficult. We need a boat, and Bhagavad Gita is that boat. So if we take shelter of Bhagavad Gita, then it is as good as a boat to cross this samsara of material suffering, this ocean of material suffering. So we are all very fortunate that we get together every week and try to understand, hear, understand, and apply the principles of Bhagavad Gita. So we will just start the session. Okay, so
Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, I Sukirti Madhvi welcome you all for the Gita Mastery course.
Amrin Gordas.
And I'm sorry I could not join for the Japa session. Actually, I have injured myself a little and I'm not really in a position to sit for a long time. So I'll try to see whatever session I'm there, whatever part I can be here. Otherwise, Prabhu would continue with the session. So as always, we would begin the session with our Gita Rewind quiz. So here we are sharing the questions with you. We request you to carefully go through the questions. It is in context only with the last session. So while answering, keep that in mind.
And this could be a little tricky, the questions. So before you mark any answer, please go through all the options and then choose the correct one. And then you'll most likely get all right answers. One participant is saying that only part of the question is visible. I would suggest that it's an issue. Try to scroll it up, please. There are many questions. If you scroll up the quiz, you can see all the questions. Some of you are asking me the answer to one of the questions. So I'll discuss all the questions. That's not an issue. But as of now, you just mark the answer that you feel is appropriate, and then we'll discuss the answers. Anusha ji, the question is, which of the following is not the duty of a Kshatriya? Okay, so many of you have answered the question. If you're not able to see the question, it should be most likely an issue with your device or with the app version of Zoom. We have repeated this many times, and I'll repeat again. One, you have to keep your Zoom app updated on your phone or on your any other device. And then if your phone is like this, you're using on the phone, you have to swipe left or right, and then you will see that quiz right on your phone, and you can mark the answers. Okay, so more than 180 of you have answered, and we'll wind up the quiz now. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So here the answers are right in front of you. Close the door. Okay, so answers are right in front of you. And the first question is, to what is body compared to in the words Vasamsi Jirnani Yatha Vihaya? And most of you got a right answer. Yes, it refers to the garment. It refers to the garment. Yes, that's the right answer. Cage. Yes, we discussed cage, but it was in the life lesson. But Krishna uses the word Vasamsi in the words. The right answer is garment. Okay. So next question. The soul is indestructible because it can never be indestructible, because it can never be cut, cannot be burned, cannot be moistened, and therefore the right answer is all of the above, and most of you got it right. Almost everybody's got it right. Okay, next question. Krishna tells Arjun that if he doesn't believe in Vedas, yet he did not lament for the death. And the right answer is true. Yes, Krishna directly speaks about this. Okay, so next question is question number 4. The body is temporary. Yes, so that's the right answer, temporary. And the lamentation means to feel sad about, to to express your grief. So body is temporary, and the lamentation for bodily discomfort is, the right answer is useless. So the last option is right. Most of you got it right. Okay, so the next verse, the amazing verse 2.29 gives how many different aspects. So those of you who have attended the session, those of you who are regularly attending session, I'm telling you one very quick, easy tip. Like we saw the tip for chanting, I'm giving a tip for attempting these quizzes. See, we start the session around 10:40. So what you do is around 10:30 or 10:20, you start preparing for this session. How do you do that? You open the class notes, right? We all share the class notes with you. We share the class notes of the previous session. You open those class notes and you just carefully take 10, 15, 20 minutes of focused, concentrated time. Just go through those class notes. So one, it will refresh your memory. Number two, you can see very easily the connection between the previous session and this session. And number three, the quiz becomes much easier for you to answer. Okay, so the right answer in this case is 9. Okay, so 9 different aspects were there. Okay, so the if you have a doubt, please go back to the recording or the class notes. It will be nice if you can review it. Okay, question number 6. Which of the following is not the duty of a Kshatriya? And again, most of you got it. Many of you got the right answer. Defeating all the neighboring kings is not the duty of the Kshatriya. In one of the slides, we clearly showed 3 things that he has to do. 1, protect the citizen. Kshatriya means Shat means harm. Triya means one who protects. So Kshatriya is one who protects the citizens from harm. So that's the first one, violence for law and using violence for law and order. And third, rule as per dharma. These are all duties of Kshatriya. The question is what is not, and the right answer is the second option. Question number 7. And then the next question is, which of the following is, okay, Swadharma refers to duties towards the body. That's the right answer. And Sanatan Dharma refers to the duties towards the soul. So that is also the right answer. The last option is the right answer. I was discussing last session also. Sanatan Dharma, Sanatan means eternal, eternal Dharma of eternal soul. So eternal soul Dharma is eternal, Sanatan. So that is how we can remember Sanatan Dharma refers to duties towards the soul. Yes, so the last option is right. Okay, next question. If Arjuna does not fight, then he will incur sin. Most of you got it right. That is right from the verse. And the last question, if Arjuna fights, then he would gain irrespective of his winning or losing the battle. And again, the answer is true. That's the right answer, the first option. Okay, so great. Some of you have got the right answers. Okay, answer for the 5th question. Yeah, so as I was discussing that it is there in your class notes and you should go back to the recording. There's a whole section where we take almost 4 to 5 minutes describing that how there are 9 different aspects of this amazing verse. Uh, Amazing to see, amazing to describe, amazing to hear, right? And then with that, we have 3 into 3, 9 different explanations. Okay, so I'm stopping the share of the quiz, and last session we completed up to 39 verses. This section, which is talking about 2 duties, is from 31 to 53. We completed till 39. We'll start from 40 and we'll try to complete till 53 verse. This section talks about 2 duties. Because I am soul, so what is my duty as soul? And I have a body, so what is my duty with respect to this body? So these are the 2 duties, and how do I balance these 2 duties? So that's the focus of this section. There are some very important verses in this section that we'll be discussing. So I want your attention. Okay. Shloka number 40. Neha Vikram
विक्रमाशोऽस्ति प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते स्वल्पमप्यस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो
Thank you, Sugiti. Okay, so in this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So this is a very remarkable verse, a very important verse. And what is Krishna doing here? He's saying in this endeavor. So here Krishna is talking about the spiritual activities, and he's saying that how these spiritual activities are different from material activities. So this is what Krishna is explaining, that they are different. And how are they different? So one, he says there is no loss or diminution in the spiritual path. And second, it gives advancement, a little advancement on this path gives great protection from most dangerous type of fear. So this is what this verse is talking about. And let's move into the insights. So we see that any spiritual advancement that we may make, they can always be lost or it may reduce. For example, I'm sure we would have studied mathematics till 10th, right? And some of us might have continued studying mathematics in 11th, 12th. Some of us might have continued in graduation, post-grad. We may have some PhD in mathematics here. I don't know. But all of us would have studied probability, permutation combination, trigonometry, what else? Differential, calculus, right? Some of you may have very wonderful memories of those times. And some of us may not have very wonderful memories of those times. But anyways, so those of who have not pursued mathematics as a subject of study, how many of us really still remember the difference between permutation and combination? Or how many of us still remember what is the differential and integration, things like that? So the point is, we have we gained the knowledge, we made some advancement in knowledge of mathematics, but now again it has lost to us, right? Or for that matter, some other subject. So I'm just giving one small example. But spiritual advancement is not like that. So when we make advancement, there is no loss or diminution. That advancement never is lost to us. Why? It's a spiritual activity. It affects our soul and it is permanent. So that's the second point. The effect of spiritual activity is permanent. Okay, it never is lost. So this is what Krishna is saying. He's differentiating material activity from spiritual activity. These cannot be compared. Third point is that it protects us from greatest fear. Now, without exception, each one of us would have certain type of fear. Some may fear financial instability, some may fear whatever. We all would have some or the other fear in our life. But an intelligent person who's really intelligent, he has different kinds of fear. So what is a fear of an intelligent person? So that is what we need to know. What would an intelligent person fear? You know what he fears? He fears what will happen after death. He fears that if I don't make advancement in this life, spiritual life, if I don't make advancement, next life I'll take another birth. Then I will grow, then I will get diseases, then I will grow old, and then I will get death. I will meet another death, right? So I will continue in this cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. Another birth, death, old age. So an intelligent person is fearful of that. Okay. And then he's also not sure. See, I have a human body. I cannot remember what previous life I had, what life I had in the past. I cannot guarantee what life I will have in future. I cannot guarantee, because all my activities, I have done some sinful activities, some pious activities, but I don't know what I remember at the time of death. When the time of death will come, I don't know. So I cannot guarantee that next life will be a human form. By mistake, by chance, if I think of something wrong or some sinful activity, I may become an animal. So there is so much of risk. So these are the fears of an intelligent man, one who's really intelligent. So this verse, Krishna is saying, you will get protection from this fear. This is the greatest fear, and you will get protection. I will give you protection from this fear, because you are beginning to progress on the spiritual path. So this is this is a very beautiful, amazing verse. We should always remember 2.40. So we have a life lesson here. Sugiti, you like to read? You're around? She's mute.
1% done in Krishna consciousness bears permanent results, so that the next beginning is from the point of 2%, whereas in material activity, without 100% success, there is no profit. So, this particular point, if we see, Srila Prabhupada explains so beautifully by giving a real life example. So, if a person, let's say, is an MBA like me, I have completed my MBA. So I have got 100% success that way because at least my material education is complete. If I would have completed only 2 semesters or 3 semesters of MBA, then nobody would have given me that job of an MBA because I have not completed 100%. So that is one part of this, that in material activity without 100% success, there is no profit. And if we try to understand beyond this, Prabhupada says that no matter how much we study, if I take a next birth, and if I am fortunate to have a human birth in a family where I am sent for proper academic education, so if I go, I start again from A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It is not that, okay, in my previous life, I have done already my PhD, so please consider me from that point onwards. So that is the difficulty, that even if I attain 100% in my material life in this birth, but next birth again I begin from ABC. Unlike that, in spiritual life, like we see many children, right from they are 1 year or 2 years, and we can see that they have such strong inclination towards spiritual activities. So what happens to them is, if we continue in our spiritual life and leave at a particular point, then we actually continue beyond that point. So if I have, let's say, attained 40% success in my spiritual life, then in my next life I start with 41%. So this is the implication or understanding of this verse: Neha Bikram Nasho Asti. Little progress, little advancement, and Nasho Asti. It is not destroyed, it is not decreased. A person begins from there. So we'll proceed to the next one.
व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिर एकेह कुरु नंदना बहुशाखा हि अनंताश्च बुद्धयो व्यवसायिनाम. So here Krishna is talking about those people who are devotees, who are advancing very nicely in devotional service. They are like very good devotees. So Krishna is talking about them. It's a very significant verse, and he says Vyavasaya Yatmika Buddhir. So those, I'm reading the translation now, those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. Oh, beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branched. So those who are devotees of the Lord, their intelligence is single pointed, is one pointed. All the abilities that they have, they just focus on one point: service, loving service of the Supreme Lord. This is where they concentrate all their intelligence. So they become very, very resolute. So their intelligence is very resolute. So Vyavasayatmika Buddhir. So their intelligence is resolute. So let's look at the insights. Um, so they are resolute. And what does the resolute means? Resolute determination, very strong, one-pointed, without any distraction. So this is some of the meanings of resolute determination. So if you see in practical terms, what does it mean? So if you want, you can write it down. Okay, resolute determination means to accept transcendental loving service of the Lord. I'm repeating, resolute determination means to accept transcendental devotional service of the Lord as prime duty that it is my prime duty to render loving service to the Lord. It is my prime duty. Number two, it is my only desire. I don't desire anything else. I desire only loving service to the Lord. And it is my only responsibility. It is my prime responsibility to render loving service to the Lord. So when a devotee is at that stage, that means that he is resolute in his determination. And we see that there are many examples of great devotees like that. So we look at the example of Prahlad Maharaj. So much he was tortured by his father. We discussed in Bhakti Yoga Made Easy that how much he was, what he had to go through. He had been put in a pit with poisonous snakes. He was tried to be crushed with the elephants, thrown over the cliff. They tried to burn him, give him poison. So many ways they tried to kill him, but he was resolute in his determination in Krishna consciousness. So Prahlad Maharaj example is amazing. Dhruva Maharaj is there. And then we have example of Pandavas. What trouble they had not gone through, right? Or their mother Kunti, or their wife Draupadi, right? And despite whatever they were going through, for ordinary people like you and me, we will actually become so disturbed just by hearing them. Forget about going through those problems. But they never left the loving service of the Lord, despite what they're going through. So that is called resolute determination. And those who are not such, their intelligence is many branch. They will think of so many things and going on. Okay. So of course, some of you may have a question. How do I develop that? How is it possible that I develop that resolute determination? How do I understand that it is my prime duty? So this slide will give you some idea about it. So we'll start from the bottom of this slide, and you will see that we are spending so much time on these two verses because these are very, very significant verses. So to begin with, if you see at the bottom of the slide, we have the soul, knowledge of the soul. So knowledge of the soul is very, very important, right? And that is the reason why Krishna, right in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, the first thing which he talks about is knowledge of soul. So first is that we need to try to understand soul very, very nicely, properly. So once we understand soul, then we can very easily understand Paramatma or God. First understand soul, then understand God. And when we have this understanding, this knowledge, then we will develop such wonderful, healthy, strong faith. Means unflinching trust in something sublime. Now we saw that soul we cannot see, we cannot hear. So it is beyond our senses. Soul is beyond our senses. So sometimes people say, "No, I will believe in God. You show me God. Show me God, I will believe. Show me soul, I will believe." Right? So that way, soul and God cannot be perceived because they are beyond our senses. So if we have knowledge of soul, we have understood, try to understand knowledge of God, then gradually we'll get very healthy and solid faith, right? Unflinching trust in the existence of soul and God. And that's when we begin to develop this resolute determination that yes, I must execute devotional service. And therefore, we have a very, very important life lesson coming up. Probably one of the most important life lessons among all the life lessons that we have discussed till now. Okay, so I want your attention. And Sukirti, you are there?
So, this life lesson is strong faith that Krishna consciousness will elevate one to highest perfection of life is Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. So, the word what Krishna uses here, it's a very interesting word. He says Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, and as Prabhu was explaining, it talks about resolute determination or very, very fixed that Krishna consciousness is the only process. I do not need any other mantra. I do not need any other scripture. I do not need any other philosophy. This is complete in itself, and this is capable of getting me all and all perfection. So, when I get to that platform, then that is known as Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. So, this is how with one focused attention without any distraction. So to internalize this, we should all always remember that story where Dronacharya asks all his disciples to shoot the eye of the bird. And then he starts calling one by one. He calls Yudhishthir, he calls Bhim, he calls Duryodhan, and everybody he first asks, "What are you seeing?" And they start describing. So someone said, "I see the tree, I see the bird, I see the eye of the bird." And then the next one said, "I see only the bird." The third one said, "I can see the scenery behind and the landscaping and all that." And finally, Arjuna was called. And when Arjun came and Dronacharya asked the same question, and Arjun said, "I see only the eye of the bird." And then Dronacharya asks, "What about the bird? What about its feather? What about its color? What about the tree?" And he says, "I don't see anything. I just see the eye of the bird." So that was Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. That pleased Dronacharya so much. And that is how Arjun became the best student of Dronacharya. So similarly, no distraction, like no other spiritual distraction also. Not that we start trying some other philosophy or some other methodology and thinking, yeah, I am chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, let me do these things also along with that. So that again it is getting a little distracted. So strong faith that Krishna consciousness will elevate one to highest perfection of life is Vyavasayatmika Buddhi.
So thank you, Sukiti, for that. And my personal recommendation would be that you can take a screenshot of this particular slide, or you can actually write it on a nice chart paper. If you have a printer, print it nicely, put it somewhere, put it as your what is it called? Wallpaper, and read it daily. Remind yourself of this, that strong faith that Krishna conscious will elevate one to the highest perfection of life. Right? The moment, that day we understand this, the day we accept this, our spiritual life will be on a fast track. We'll be like one bullet train moving forward. Okay, so let's move on to the next verses, 42 to 44. Men of small knowledge are very much attracted to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. So that last four words are unfortunately on the brown border with brown text, so you cannot see. You need special eyes to see those four words. Okay, so we'll see that in 40th verse, Krishna was glorifying spiritual activities, Krishna conscious activities. 41st verse, he was talking about how Vyavasaya Yatmika Buddhi is focused, that Krishna consciousness will give me the, let me attain the highest perfection in life. And now Krishna is talking about in these three verses that those who cannot have resolute determination, those who cannot gain spiritual perfection. So Krishna is, as an excellent teacher, he's talking about the pitfalls, right? Who cannot do it. So who are these people? These people are men of small knowledge. They have very limited understanding, they have very limited knowledge. And what are they attracted to? They are attracted to the flowery words of Vedas. Now, Vedas also, there are so many places where Vedas are describing that if you do this vrata, you will gain this material benefit. If you do this sacrifice homa, you will gain that particular benefit. So like that, there are so many flowery words of Vedas which recommend fruitive activities, that you do this and you'll gain this material enjoyment, like elevation to heavenly planets, result in good birth. Some people want to become as opulent, powerful, and rich as a king. They may desire that. Some people want power, right? So Vedas recommend different process. If you want to go to heavenly planets, you need to do this yagya. If you want to become Indra, You need to perform 100 Ashwamedh yagyas like this. So the Vedas will prescribe and people want to do it. And some of us may become little confused. Hey, heavenly planets, na? All of us want to go to heavenly planets. Heavenly planets is the place. No. Heaven is the place of Indra, the Devatas, which is also within the material world. It is not outside the material world. And therefore, even if we go to the heavenly planets, we can spend only some time and then we'll have to come back. So that place is a temporary place. It is not an eternal place. Our Even if we travel to that place, we can stay there for some time. That's all. So heavenly planets, enjoyment of Swarg is all temporary. So again, intelligent people has no desire to go to heavenly planets. It is different from Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha is eternal. It is the place which is dominated by the Lord. It is the place which is ruled by the Lord. It is the place which is eternally blissful and happy. Okay, so that is outside the material world. I just explained so that we don't have any confusion. And who are these people who are weak in their determination? They don't want to progress in spiritual life. Two things Krishna is mentioning here. And it is important for us because we are beginning in our spiritual life. So it's important for us to note it down. What are those two things? One, they have an intense desire to enjoy. Intense enjoying tendency is there. Any opportunity I want to enjoy. I want to go here. I want to go there. I want to this. I'm getting bored. Let me do something exciting. So they have an intense desire to enjoy. Okay, that is one disqualification. And second, they are attached to Aishwarya. Ashwarya. They are attached to wealth. They are attached to the opulence. They are attached to, homes and cars and clothes and so many things. There is so much attachment is there. So if they are very, Krishna is saying, if they are bewildered by such things, then they cannot have determination to progress in spiritual path. So these are the insights. The first one refers to karma kandis. Karma kandi means they accept the Vedas, but they are less intelligent. They want to use Vedas only for material benefits. These are karma kandis. Okay, accept Vedas, use Vedas for own enjoyment. Okay, so they don't regard the Vedic conclusion that we should try for liberation, moksha. They don't regard that. They don't regard devotees. They have no value for devotees, right? Who are selflessly trying to give everybody love of God, so they don't regard them. And what is the disqualification for resolute determination? Bhoga, intense desire to enjoy, and Aishwarya or opulence. So we come to a very nice life lesson, Sukirti.
Krishna tells that less intelligent people aspire for elevation to heavenly planets. Make a note and strike off heaven from your desired destination after death. So now it is very fascinating, my dear devotees, that we saw in the last session, Krishna was talking about going to heaven. Krishna was telling Arjun that you perform your duties and fight as a Kshatriya. So if you will live, you will enjoy here in earth. And if you die, then you would enjoy the heavenly planets. So this was Krishna telling Arjun in the last session. But in this session, Krishna is calling such people men of small intelligence. So we saw in verse number 42 and 43, Krishna started that verse by saying, men of small intelligence get attracted to flowery words of Vedas and they aspire to go for heavenly planets. So men of small intelligence means less intelligent people. So Krishna is now telling Arjun that going to heaven is not considered to be the best goal. And only foolish people aspire for that. So don't go to heavenly planets. Don't think that you want to go to heaven. So this is a lesson for all of us because we many times we get confused and we start thinking that Swarg or heaven is the same as the spiritual world. But as Prabhu was explaining, even Swarg or heaven comes in the material world. So there are total 14 planetary systems. Earth comes in the middle. There are 7 planets above Earth and 6 planets below Earth. And all these 14 planetary systems, they are a part of material world. So even if we go to the topmost planet, Brahma Loka, still that is in the material world. Krishna would be explaining that part a little later and we would discuss there. So as of now, we must understand that going to heaven is not a very intelligent thing to do. So we'll proceed further.
Yeah, we're spending so much time on this. So because we'll not again and again be discussing these points. Okay, so let's go to the next two verses. The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. Oh Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes. Be free from dualities, and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. All purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. So we'll see that how um, Vedas are one Acharya compares Vedas to mother. Okay, so Vedas, so like a mother may have a child who is very intelligent, and mother may also have a child. I see nowadays we have only one or two children, but earlier times there will be many children, right? So some children may be intelligent, one child may be very intelligent, one child may be very dull, right? So similarly, Vedas provide and nourish all types of personality. So somebody who's dull, he wants material enjoyment. So Vedas provide him also. Okay, you want this enjoyment? Okay, no problem. You perform this homa, this yagya, this vrata, this that, and you can enjoy. You can obtain what you desire. That is a less intelligent desire, but as a mother, the Vedas provide him a legal way of obtaining that enjoyment. So Krishna is saying Vedas deal mainly with the subject of three modes. So three modes mean satogun, rajogun, tamogun, right? So these three gunas, people in these three gunas, what they should do, what they should not do. So this is what mainly Vedas are dealing with. So Krishna is saying, become transcendental. You have to go beyond these modes, because these modes are of the material world. You should go beyond them. Go beyond the dualities, the anxiety. Because Arjuna was so anxious. If I win, I will not enjoy. If I die, lose this battle, I will die, I will not enjoy. Krishna is saying, don't worry about it, don't talk about it, this is not important, right? So this is what Krishna is telling. And then we look at the insights. Sugirti. You're wrong.
Can you please continue?
Okay, so we saw that in the towards the end of the first chapter, we saw that how Arjuna was very disturbed that all the elders will die and the family will become engrossed in irreligion, and whoever does that will incur sin. So here Krishna is telling, Are Baba, they're anyway involved in all these karma kand rituals, you don't worry about them. Even they are all meant for only enjoying within the material world. And then he's saying that the highest purpose of Vedic knowledge is to revive our Krishna consciousness. So, like the example is given of well and a big reservoir of water. So earlier in the village, sometimes um there are different wells. Some well very good water, so they will use for drinking and they may use for cooking. Some well which is not very good water, they will use for washing their bodies. I mean, they'll take bath or they'll wash clothes and all. But imagine that in due course of time, a village has a huge river with fresh clean water flowing next to it. So then all the needs of drinking, cooking, washing, bathing, everything can be accomplished with the help of that river. So similarly, a person who, Vedas are huge. So a person who knows the essence of the Vedas, the Vedas as mother, they are telling every living entity, don't suffer in this material world. Accept the feet of the Lord, worship the Lord, get an eternal life of happiness, go back home, back to Godhead, go back to the spiritual world. This is what Vedas are saying. So similarly, so this is what the purpose. So different things, people are interested in small material enjoyment here, small material enjoyment there. and Vedas are willing to give that whole essence. So one who understands that essence, so as a fresh flowing river, so all the needs can be fulfilled just by accepting the essence of the Vedas. So we'll go to the next verse, 47th verse, and this is again a very interesting verse. I am sure most of you would have heard this verse at least, and some of you may know about it. Karma karmani evadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhur ma te sangostava karmani. So what is Krishna saying? You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty. So it's a very famous verse, but I don't know, it's a little difficult to understand, and many people I have seen that they don't really understand what this verse means. So we'll go to the insights. So this verse is describing a person who is in mode of goodness, sattva gun, a sattvic person, and that is why most of us find it difficult to understand what this verse is talking about. Krishna is saying that you should work without attachments. So two things, we look at the first point and the fourth point. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, see, you are a Kshatriya, so you have the adhikar, or you have the right to fight this war. You are a Kshatriya, so you have the right to exercise your duty. And second, you should not be attached to not doing your duty, which means you should do your duty and should never abandon your duty. You should not abandon your duty. So this is what Krishna is telling him. Why was Arjuna trying to abandon the duty? Because he was attached to the result. If I will fight, I will die or they will die. So Krishna is telling the second point, without attachment to the results, which means perform your duty, do not give up your duty, and that you can be fixed when you give up the attachment to the result, which means you should do it as a duty alone. It is my duty, I will do irrespective of what result will come. Okay. Third point, you are not the cause of the result. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, see, I am telling you to fight. You as a Kshatriya, you are duty bound to fight. You fight. This war is between dharma and adharma. The results are my responsibility. I will take care of results. So it is, Arjuna is thinking, I am the cause, but here Krishna is saying, you don't think yourself to be the cause. You just do your duty, right? The results will come on its own accord. So this verse can be easily understood by people in Sattva Gun. Why? Because they are more focused on their duties and they are not so much attached to the results which they may get or obtain from the performing these duties. Okay. So we'll continue. Krishna is again further talking about, I'll remind all of you that we are talking about two duties, duties towards the body, duties towards the soul, and now Krishna is fixing up Arjuna's mood and attitude towards performing swadharma, towards performing the duties towards the body, how he should do that. So what is Krishna saying here? Perform your duty equipoised. O Arjuna, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. So you see that how Krishna is bringing this word yoga. So what is yoga? That you perform your duty equipoised. You abandon all varieties, all attachment to success or failure. This is my duty as a Kshatriya. As a result, if I meet success or failure, no problem. I will perform my duty. So this equanimity, which means this undistracted mind, undisturbed mind towards performing my duty is called yoga. And then Krishna further explains how is it possible. He says, O Dhananjay, keep all abominable activities far distant by devotional service. And in that consciousness, surrender unto the Lord. Those who want the fruits, enjoy the fruits of their work, are misers. So let's look at the insights. So one, Krishna describes the yoga, the real yoga. Perform your duty, but perform them without attachment. And how one can do this? By developing, by doing devotional service. How do we act in proper yoga? Reject all abominable activities and surrender to the Supreme Lord. So you see that if we perform our Sanatan Dharma, then we'll gain the strength that we can do our duty without attachment. Because all of us who are here, we have so many duties towards our family, towards our job, towards our society, towards our country, so many things, but we are so much attached to the result. Actually, we don't do anything unless, we first think of the result, then we begin our action. I want this result, I want that result, I want to do this, I want to do that. So the whole system is upside down. Krishna is saying, do your duty, don't be attached to the result. So we have, okay, so if you want to see how practically we can apply this in our life, so we have 2 life lessons, and this will make these verses more applicable. Number 1, material attachment is binding, spiritual attachment is liberating. So Krishna is saying, don't be attached to result, don't be attached to success or failure, don't worry about the result of your action, just do your duty. So what is he saying? Material attachment is binding, spiritual attachment is liberating. So attachment is there, but where do you direct your attachment will define our success or failure. Okay, so this one is nice. And second one, me and mind are the most dangerous words, as from here all miseries begin. So this is a formula, a mathematics formula. Me plus mine is equal to misery. MMM. Me plus mine is equal to misery. Okay, so if you are only engrossed me, how this can help me, how this can benefit me, how this can benefit mine, how this can be mine, oh, this will lead to miseries. Okay, simple formula. So a person with me and mine tendency, which means he is the center of the universe. Who's in the center of this universe? Me, right? So misery. Okay, and if you replace me with Krishna, then misery will vanish. Okay, so we will now look at the last 4 verses of this particular section. And here in these verses is the glorification of devotional service, glorification of bhakti. So Krishna began by talking about it in verse 40. Now he comes back to the subject in the verse 50. What is he saying? Let's hear. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad reactions, even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. By thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the results of work in the material world. In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries by going back to Godhead. So this is a phenomenal verse, and it is giving a very deep insight. You carefully read the first verse, the 50th verse. You read it carefully. What is it talking about? It is saying that if a man, of course, and a woman, it's a gender neutral word, so don't worry about that. So if a person is engaged in devotional service, what is the result? He is free from good and bad reactions, even in this life, which means all our karmic reactions are destroyed. We have a scissor. So all the karmic reactions are cut. So if you see, we will discuss now. See, after this life, we'll take another birth. After next birth, we'll take another birth. Why? Because we have so many activities we have done in the past, and their reactions we have to face. So there are you can imagine that we are pulled with, we are tied with so many ropes. Ropes means ropes of reaction, that reaction that we'll see in future. So Krishna is coming, and Krishna is coming with a scissor, and he will take and he will cut, like a barber cuts our hair. So he will come and he will cut all those reactions. He will cut and he will, that's all. So all our, in fact, the karmic reactions are sometimes compared to seeds, right? So seed is there. In due course of time, a plant will come out, right? So Krishna will come and he will dug out those seeds. He will cut those seeds which are grown. So he will do all that for us. But when does that happen? When we are engaged in devotional service. So all our good and bad karmic reactions are destroyed, and that's how. So essentially, this 50th verse means that we'll gain liberation, actually. Okay. And he's giving an example. Krishna is giving an example in the next verse that actually by engaging in devotion, so many sages and devotees, they have actually become free. They have gone to the spiritual world like this, right? So this, you would have heard this phrase. There's an institution by that name, Art of Living, right? There's an institution by that name. Krishna is actually defining art of living here. What is the real art of living? This is what Krishna is defining here. The real art of living is by executing devotional service, by engaging devotional service. This is the real art of living. Why? Because we get free. Krishna will make us free from all the karmic reactions, and we go back to the spiritual world. Okay, so let's look at the last two verses for the day. This is like towards the end of the period, when we were in school, and we know, okay, 40 minutes, so now 35 minutes. So anytime the bell will ring and we'll be free from this class. We will come to that point. When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and then it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. So Krishna is reminding us once and for all that we would have heard so much from our parents, from our grandparents, from the Purohit, from all and anyone who has some knowledge of the Vedic rituals, of so much benefit, material benefit that we can draw. And in the future also, we may hear from so many people that by doing this puja, I have seen people, they are told, if you do this archana, you'll get this benefit. Like we have some temple, I think somewhere in Andhra, I don't know, maybe at other places also, where people go for getting their passports or getting their visas, right? If you go do archana there is a belief that by doing that you may get a visa stamped, right? So people have so many, we would have heard so many things in the past, we'll hear so many things in the future, but a person who understands, who is intelligent, who accepts the word of Krishna, he does not become allured, he does not become disturbed, he does not become agitated by hearing all these things, because he understands that that is not my goal of life. Krishna consciousness, and that will give me the highest result. That is what I'm convinced about. So that is what Krishna is saying. When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, and you have become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that has to be heard in future, then we become eligible for moving on outside this material world. So this is what Krishna has beautifully explained in these verses. So these are the benefits of Buddhi Yoga or Krishna consciousness in action. Okay, Prabhupada defines Buddhi Yoga as Krishna consciousness in action. The balance between Swadharma and Sanatan Dharma, balance between the duties towards the body and duties towards the soul. So what? If we perform Krishna consciousness in action, one, we get freedom from good and bad reactions. We get freedom from cycle of birth and death. We become indifferent to Vedic rituals, which are meant for so many material benefits. We are indifferent. So what may happen is our family may still do. Okay, our loved ones may still do, and we may participate in them, but we know that this is not what my goal of life is. This is not something that I really desire. So I may participate, I may be part of the whole thing, but I am indifferent to it. Okay, this is very important, because otherwise the family members may become upset with you. Hey, what has become, certainly what has come upon you? You're not participating in our puja, you're not sitting for this, you have become some big yogi, so whatever. Okay, so like that. So we may do that, but we are indifferent to it, because our goal is the highest goal. And finally, attain the divine consciousness or samadhi. So people have a lot of misconceptions of samadhi. We will discuss this samadhi also in future chapters. Many people think samadhi means to sit in Padmasana, back erect, shoulders back, and have the mudra, and then just close eyes and meditate. That is samadhi. No, that is not samadhi. Because samadhi comes from absorption of the mind. What is the mind absorbed in? Okay, so a devotee who's rendering devotional service, for example, a pujari in the temple, he's absorbed in doing service of the Lord, giving Lord morning abhishek, massaging his form, offering him bhoga, offering him arti. All his mind senses are absorbed in loving service of the Lord. He's in samadhi. His body is moving. Okay, he's doing everywhere, he's speaking, but he is absorbed in the Lord. So samadhi comes from absorption of the mind. Okay, so it's much easier for a devotee, it becomes much easier for him to be absorbed in samadhi. So with that, we will like to end today's session. So thank you very much for joining us today for Gita Mastery course. I hope all of you had a spiritually uplifting experience, and so much to gain from Lord Krishna. So thank you very much. We also have shared attendance before you leave. Dipangi, we have shared the attendance link. So we have already shared the attendance link in between. I hope you could see it and you could mark your attendance. That's important for us. And today evening, before we forget, in the evening, we have a Q&A session. So you may have questions regarding this session or previous session. And so I request that you can post your questions in the Q&A link, and we'll meet today evening at 5 o'clock. So officially this session is over. And if you have any doubts, questions, you'd like to share anything, I'm still here for a few more minutes.